What would you say to those people out there who are really wanting to get involved in crypto, especially as we're growing? The industry's grown phenomenally over the last 10 years, but where we're going, as you say, it could be the next generation before we start to see real mass adoption on that level. But for those who really are interested, but they don't know where to start, or they haven't got that right mindset, as I said, they're still looking at the signal route rather than actually wanting to make that money and paying attention. Now, what would you say to those people?
So I tell people there's three essential things in life, three things of control, areas of control. And when you dominate these three areas, the world is yours for the taking. And these are the three elements that all of us have. Some people say, hey, Luke, you have more opportunity, you have more money, you have more of this, you have more of that. People look at what they don't have. But what is it that we all do have? We have three things. Time. So what is it that you do with your time? Most people are wasting their time. You're not successful because you're wasting the time that you have. Two is your energy. Where are you focusing that time? The input. And then finally is your attention. People are distracted. People aren't inputting the right amount of energy. And they are in a situation whereby when you get distracted and you have no focus, you can't succeed. If you want to make money in crypto, focus on that. If you want to learn how to trade, focus on that. If you want to learn the psychology of trading, focus on that. You need to be able to have hyper focus towards a given goal, an objective. Most people don't have that. So your time, your energy, and your attention. Most people don't secure these three things. They don't protect these three things. They give their time to the fucking Instagram timeline. They give their attention to some random bitch. They give their energy and their money to partying and wasting it. Dude, you worked your entire week for that money in order to get to the next level, and you just gave it to some dude that charged you overpriced bottles and told you that you're cool, and you're not. You're a fucking dork. Like you lost. So your time, energy, and attention are the three things you need to preserve at all times. Doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor. You're rich on these three things. We're in a time and a situation where technology is advancing so quick that your decisions have a massive impact, short term and long term. There's a law known as Moore's Law, where technology advances at twice the speed at half the cost every 2 years. So every 2 years, technology becomes twice as powerful and it becomes half as expensive to produce. So we're in this exponential curve. So you have this exponential curve, which means technology is moving so quickly that if you become disconnected, if you fuck up, it'll impact your ability to progress. And in business, in entrepreneurship, in trading, you can't cheat your way to the top. Like you can fake your P&Ls on Twitter and on Instagram, but you can't fake how much money you have in the bank. So you have to put in the work. You have to put in the hours. You have to be consistent. And eventually you will yield results. I don't know. I think I became profitable 5 years into trading. I lost a ton of money. Maybe 4.5 years into business, I started making a couple $1,000s a week. The process is also exponential. But once you take the exponential curve, you also capitalize on what? We talked about it. Exponential trends and exponential narratives. So you ride the momentum as well if you catch the right side of the Moore's Law. The year is 1848. And in the eastern colonies of the United States, rumors begin to surface that in the West, they had found gold near something known as the American River. The president validates it about a couple months later, and 300,000 migrants moved from east to west in the hopes of finding gold. Today, we live in the digital gold rush. Your ability to access information, resources, connections at the fingertips is insane. It's something that has never been possible before. Opportunity without leaving the comfort of your home. Is it easy? It's a lot easier than going from east to west, dealing with the thieves, the bad terrains, the dangerous animals. But do you think that it was only miners that went to the west? No, people changed their current profession. There was doctors, lawyers, bankers that said, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity out there that will not be there forever, and I need to capitalize on it. And the risk takers, the people that understand that there's opportunity outside of comfort, are the ones that pioneer these things. But what you come to realize is that even if you say, hey, you know what? I don't want the risk of that wave one of going to to California and experiencing the California gold rush. It's too risky for me. Okay, I get it. I agree. But what you need to understand is that from that gold rush, a 200-year gold industry was born. There was two individuals that were moving and transporting people from east to west and moving and transporting gold. Their last name's Wells, and the other one, his last name Fargo. The bank, Wells Fargo, today manages trillions of dollars of assets, but it started when the miners needed somewhere to put their gold. So the gold rush created bilateral businesses and opportunities as well. So you don't have to be in crypto. What you need to understand is crypto's an aspect of what? The macro trend, the macro narrative, which is people are spending all of their day on the internet. You can't be here with me right now because we have limitations, human limitations, things that you can't control. But because of the internet, because of technology, you're basically here with us. Without any of the discomfort, without any of the bills, without any of anything. It's just pure gain. The digital gold rush is here. Another individual, he was hanging out in one of these dry markets, and he started hearing the miners complain that their knees hurt, that their pockets were ripping when they were trying to put the gold or their tools. So he began to work on finding a solution, and he came up with denim, jeans. His name was Levi Strauss. Did he mine for gold? No, but he got rich in the process because he solved a problem, understanding that within the macro trend, there was opportunity. For me, hey, it's crypto. You know, I understand the market. I've been in Bitcoin since $588, 2016. It'd be foolish of me to leave after spending 8 years in the space. I've been in e-commerce, so I understand how digital real estate works. And when you visualize what e-commerce is, you go to one of like Piccadilly Square and you see all the beautiful businesses. Say you pick any business on any corner. That is a physical representation of what could be a digital plot of land. And the internet just happens to have more foot traffic than the physical space. So by creating a digital experience, you capitalize on the digital foot traffic. So building businesses on the internet, making money online is the new opportunity. So it goes beyond crypto, because I know crypto can be niche for some people, but it can be Forex. It can be the stock market. It can be any sort of area that taps into the internet. The failure, or to me, the missed opportunity, is not taking advantage of the internet, how easy and accessible it is for all of us. I think that's the opportunity, bro.
I couldn't agree more. I actually couldn't agree more. And one thing off the back of that is like, where do you feel like that space is heading? Because as you said, it's in such a short space of time, it's been created, and it's created such a huge opportunity. But where do you think it's heading in the, say, near future, in the next 5 to 10 years?
What is crypto? Crypto is a form of money. So what is money? Money is a technological advancement of commerce. 4,000 years ago, you owned a beautiful plot of land with great, beautiful olive trees. And I owned 50, maybe 70 cows. And I saw that plot of land. I said, you know what? I want that plot of land. Let me go to Riz and ask him, hey, how much is it? Well, you already have cows, actually, so you don't need the cows that I have, so we can't actually transact. So I have to go sell my cows for some pigeons because you want the pigeons. Now I come back, I bring you the pigeons. One of them dies, so I have to go back and get another pigeon. And then finally I get the plot of land. Now you have the pigeons, and you have to go figure out somebody that wants pigeons in exchange for you to get the next service or the next good. So the problem was with the bartering system, there was no ability to scale, no ability to build monopolies, because there was no ability to sustain wealth, and there's no medium of exchange that we both agreed upon. We introduced the next form of bartering, the next form of commerce, coinage. Coinage is a technological revolution. It was the first time that we all agreed upon what was something and what was the store of value. So, successful merchants, kings, they began to hoard it. And they began to build treasuries. And now they began to conquer more lands because they no longer were limited by the limitations of bartering. You could take the coins, they wouldn't rot. You would sell the gold in China, you would sell the gold in India, you would sell the gold in Paris, and it would still be counted as gold. So now you had the ability for scale. The issue was Now, kings started realizing, hey, maybe I can shave a little bit off the top of the coin and make some new coins. And you know what? Maybe the people won't notice that I'm, printing coins out of thin air. Maybe I'll add some alloy or some metal instead of the silver, diluting the currency. So they began to realize, hey, like coinage now can be forged. So we need another system. Now people can no longer have their own system. We need to have something centralized. Everybody's managing on gold. The banks are holding gold. Let's get rid of the gold standard. Let's introduce paper money. Paper money, obviously, if you have, let's say, a kilo worth of gold, you can't be carrying that with your horse hanging around town. No, you have paper receipts that the bank gives you, and people began exchanging paper receipts. The receipts of what? The units of gold that were in the bank. But then the banks got cheeky, and they said, you know what? Nobody's checking our bank reserves, so what if we issue more paper than we actually have gold reserves? And the French noticed. They're like, hey, these motherfucking Americans, they're printing more paper, handing it out to people than the gold that they have in the reserves. So they came in and they wiped out all the reserves, collapsing the economy. So what did they have to do? They had to introduce the gold standard, getting rid of the gold standard. Why? Well, now we just can print as much money as we want and it's not pegged by gold. And now we were introduced with paper. And then credit cards rolled around. Yeah, I still had to go into the bank and deal with paper, but I could transact and buy things with a piece of plastic. Okay, so now digital money was introduced. But now we have the battle of what is the digital money that we want to adopt. And in these new crossroads of technological advancement, you have something that's born known as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the permissionless open ledger. Everybody knows how much of it exists, who owns what based off of, obviously you don't know who owns what wallet, but you know what wallet owns how much. Everything is open, everything is transparent, and everything is what? Peer-to-peer. It's the purest form of going back 2,000 years and transacting gold bar for gold bar in a digital format. It is the evolution of money. It is the natural evolution of money. Now you have the old system, the banking cartel, that takes a fee off of us transacting. So what is the rule or what is the need of a bank today? What is the purpose of a bank? Well, Luke, the purpose of the bank is to store your deposits. No, a bank does not hold deposits. If they hold deposits, why do they give you interest on your deposit? It's not a deposit. The moment they give you an interest on it, it's a loan. You're loaning them money. They're giving you an interest. They're taking that money. They're investing it. It's not a deposit. It's a loan. Once they give you interest, that thing becomes a liability on their balance. What you're seeing displayed on your checking account is just a record of how much the bank owes you. So the purpose of the bank isn't to hold deposits. Well, the purpose of the bank, Luke, is to fractionalize money. Well, no, that's not the purpose of the bank. It doesn't fractionalize money. Well, what's the purpose of the bank? The purpose of the bank is credit creation. It creates loans. It's in the business of buying and selling securities. So if the bank is in the business of credit creation and everything around us is getting inflated and more expensive due to the fact that we're creating credit that is being utilized to buy Louis Vuitton bags, it's not productive credit. It's not credit that adds to the GDP. We enter a situation whereby the dilution of our money becomes so big that we no longer trust it. But now we enter a very dangerous situation. If we don't have an alternative payment system, the tokenization or the programmability of digital money, like a central bank digital currency, becomes very scary. Because now they don't want to just issue the currency, they want to control the rules as to how you can use the currency. So for example, hey, Riz, you've already spent, You spent 2 hours already with the light on. Now your light gets turned off because your curfew's up. And if not, we'll turn off your power bill and your cards won't work. Oh, you didn't get vaccinated? Oh, you went 5 kilometers past your house curfew? No worries, your cards just won't work. You have no freedom. Back in the day, at least you had cash. You could do whatever you wanted. So is that the system that you want? If the answer is no, what is the alternative system to that digital revolution, that next advancement of money? In my opinion, it's Bitcoin, digital currencies, things that are decentralized. So it's a little bit of how I've been thinking about and theorizing this idea of Bitcoin and rationalizing whether digital currencies, decentralized ones, fighting against centralized institutions are going to last. And I think people will fight for it.
Do you think they will?
Absolutely.
So I always think about that. I think about it a lot. Like, will people actually do it? We always hope. I'm always very hopeful and think the best of people. But I think one of the plays that the system talks about when it comes to CBDCs is that they'll give you a universal basic income.
Yeah.
Right. And that's essentially how they'll get the masses to accept it.
Yes.
Because they'll be like, it's free money.
Yeah.
You know? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's nothing that is free.
Yeah.
And once you hit universal basic income, now you have to follow a set of rules and guidelines in order to receive that universal basic income. And that's where the issue is going to come. And part of me understands it. I'll explain to you the side that understands it. And I'll explain to you the side that scares me. The side that I understand is what happens when AI in 50 years replaces half of the white collar jobs that are around. What are people going to do? A lot of people are not going to do anything. So there's a lot of people that are looking at, hey, how do we subsidize all these individuals that will inevitably have no work? On the other hand, people will acquire new tasks, and I think people will also adapt to working in an environment with AI. So you just can't put all of people on a universal basic income and then sustain them. It doesn't work that way. You don't produce a productive society, it's going to crumble. So on one side, I get it. On the other side, I'm like, hey, once you start giving people free money, people have no intention to work. What's that money actually worth? Who's producing things of value? And how do I make sure that now this digital money that you give me isn't programmed in some way, shape, or form that when I get out of line, that no longer becomes financial freedom, it becomes financial prison because I'm bound to you. And that's what I think is, I would say, the cards up these guys' sleeves.
Yeah, well, funny enough, it's just changed now. Prime Minister here in the UK, Rishi Sunak, he was Prime Minister a few months back. But before that, he was the Treasury. And he openly spoke about CBDCs. And that's what he said. They said they'll be programmable for that very thing. And I think someone spoke about that and highlighted that exact example on Joe Rogan. And they broke it down the exact same ways in terms of, if, let's say, you go over your quota for, how many drinks you've had, no more drinks, or you haven't done enough hours here, or even if we go to the social credit system,
it's all compliance. All compliance.
So crazy.